Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today's a great day. I happen to have the day off, so I decided to hang the laundry, let the tortoise out, and we're going to clean the engine bay of the Subaru Forester. So probably twice a year I like to go ahead and give it a quick wash down, clean it up. It allows me to have time to look for cracked pipes or any oil leaks or anything like that. So in addition to making it cleaner, it helps me reorientate the engine bay and get familiar with it. So all we're going to do is I have a gallon of water in here, 2 gallons for rinse. Any dish soap would work fine. We want to go light on that, and a scrubbing brush. And I also have a wet rag and some dry ones. So we're going to go ahead and get started. There's no rocket science with this. We're going to be very stingy with the water. We don't want to get anything wet that we're not supposed to. A lot of people will wrap their alternator, considering rainwater and snow gets kicked up from underneath. It's fine. Just don't submerge the thing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You can consider this ASMR, whatever you want, but we're just going to give the engine bay a scrub down. We're going to do a quick before. And I'm sure we'll get an after. Okay, so what we have, we use biodegradable cleaner for our dishes, but it looks like for mopping, it's a ½ teaspoon per gallon, so it's a very small amount. We don't want to use too much on here. Again, just the water and mechanical scrubbing action should be fine. But follow your instructions as you want to, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so while we're in here, there's two things that I'll point out to you guys. These are my pro tips for the video. One is I write the oil weight, even though it's on the oil cap here. Try and do it every 4.5 thousand miles. It's a 17 millimeter socket to get the oil drain plug out, and it takes 4.8 liters. I'm going to be doing that every 6 months. Instead of looking it up every 6 months on my phone, I just go ahead and write it on this cowl in a silver Sharpie. Another thing I do, you may have seen on one of my YouTube shorts, is I keep a bundled up wipe rag for your oil dipstick. People have commented that, oh, the mice are going to get in here. If the mice want to get in here, they're going to get in here. The rag soaked in oil isn't going to encourage them. Do be mindful of your serpentine belt, your timing belt. I keep it nicely compact, so there's no way that it can accidentally get sucked up into anything. But it gives me a guaranteed way of knowing that I have something to wipe the dipstick to get a more accurate reading. We have a car going by. Thanks, car, for doing the speed limit. So those are the two tricks that I do. I am going to go ahead and remove this throughout the course of the video, and you can see I'm even struggling to get it out, so it's not going anywhere until I tell it to. Slosh that water around a little bit. And get started. Now, rinsing will, of course, get some of the stuff off. I find that this dollar brush from Dollar Tree, it's actually a broom, but it works very well for getting into these individual nooks and crannies. I can get probably a foot down into something, right? So I get a little bit more reach with this guy. And I'm just going to start with the left side, work my way around in a clockwise motion. Again, as I'm in here, I'm looking to make sure that I don't have any prominent rust or fraying belts or disconnected electrical connections or anything like that. I'm going to try and do the left side. You're all right, boyo. Try and do the left side so that we have a compare and contrast on the right side. So this connector has some black gunk on it. Try and go right down the middle here. As a boxer engine, the pistons are firing out. So they're firing left, right. Typically they're going to be an inline 4 engine where they'll fire up, down. All that to say, the spark plugs are going to be deep on the side of this guy, so I don't need to worry about getting water in there. The reason I don't use a pressure washer or just pour water in here is because any water that comes in needs to go out. And if I'm just brushing the water on, it's less likely to collect and pool and start getting into places I don't necessarily want it to be. So far, I'm not seeing anything concerning. This should make all your colors pop a little bit more. And again, you get familiar with the layout of your particular engine day. The fact that it's sunny today will help this dry. So it is a 2018. You do have a little bit of corrosion on the aluminum engine block and a little bit of rust down below. There's really nothing can be done about that at this point. I'm going to keep doing some research on do-it-yourself oil treating the bottom of the car. Seems simple enough. Apparently you can paint it on with the painter's brush and or spray it on with a pressure sprayer. So seems like cheap insurance. These cars will run for a very long time if properly maintained, and I hope to get that very long time. Oh, baby girl. All right, so there is one side versus the other. I'm going to, now that I've done 90% of the work, I'm going to start focusing on the 10%. This is going to be more sudsy, more scrubby. The other one was more brush, abrasive, knock the stuff loose, lets me know what I'm working with. You can see very little suds. So, I won't pretend to know all about this. That does seem a little, maybe that's just the way the plastic is cut. That should be good. But basically, I'll tell you what I know, or more appropriately, what I believe I know. So, you clicked on the video, you're to blame. This is a 2.5 liter, 4-cylinder Subaru boxer engine. About 180 foot-pounds of torque, 180 horsepower, 170 foot-pounds of torque. All-wheel drive. During the winter, I got no less than 25.5 gallons, typically more like 26. Largely highway driving, about 40 minutes one way. I think it comes out to 35 miles one way, so 70 miles a day. I have pulled a 1,000-pound teardrop trailer with this guy through what Ohio calls hills. We don't really have elevation changes around here. Plenty of power. Fuel efficiency is great. During the summer, I was getting 32 at the pump, so I am not complaining, considering it is an all-wheel drive car, and it is a symmetrical all-wheel drive. So all 4 wheels will be getting the same amount of power at all times. And they have brake vectoring, where, let's say, hypothetically, but also on YouTube videos, they take a roller system that you would have on like a conveyor belt. They put 3 of the wheels on that rolly system, allowing 1 wheel to sit on the ground. That 1 wheel will, of course, be the only wheel that is going to get traction. What the car will do through sensors in the computer is it will determine my front left wheel is the only one making contact, and it will actively engage the brakes on the other 3 wheels. And that will force more power to the one that actually has traction and get the car to slip off of the 3 rollers, which will allow the car to start moving. So if you are inclined to be getting snow or ice, and you are concerned about moving on said snow and ice, I would recommend the Subaru. But I think that's all we got. So left side has been completed. Right side is where we're going next. You can already see the before and after. The longer this sits, the more effective the soap portion will be. So we're going to let that sit. We're going to continue on to the other side. We're going to switch to the brush. Baby boy, please play nice. All right. So we have the battery, which compared to the wife's Chevy Equinox, I guess we'll open with that. I'm really a fan of the engine bay in here. As someone who tries to do his own maintenance and repairs, the engine bay is very easily laid out, very logically laid out, and there is very little. This is the fuse box. We want to make sure we don't get a lot of water in there. It is sealed to a point, which is, again, why I'm not dunking it with water. But I'm very impressed with the layout of this guy. More and more the YouTube videos I see on other cars, I'm trying to be a perpetual student, learn as much as I can about as much as I can. A lot of cars seem to have, oh yeah, here's trick number 3. Right behind your driver's side headlight is a nice little storage cubby for a funnel and a quart of oil. So they sit conveniently right there. They cannot vibrate free. They cannot fall out of the car. They can't really crack open and leak everywhere. It's stored in an upright orientation. So that is a fantastic way to keep a full quart of oil with you to top off your oil as you go. A lot of people will be leaving comments in the comments section below. Thanks for your insights. I've never heard before that Subarus burn oil. Every car I've owned has burned oil. That's Saturn's, 2 of them. Everyone I know has had to add oil, or if they don't, they run into issues. So it's not a drinker. I probably have to use a half quart per oil change. So every 4,000 to 5,000 miles, I have to add half a quart. I don't think that's excessive. Your mileage may vary, but it doesn't matter if you do or don't have or think you have an oil leak. You should be checking your oil every time you tank up. So every time I get gas, it's a force of habit. I pop the oil or the gas tank hatch and I pop my hood. And I got 4 minutes to kill anyways. I just go ahead and check my oil, top everything off, make sure the belts and everything are good. And once, bless his heart, pull into a Costco and getting gas, pop the hood, start looking around, and 17-year-old runs over. Sir, are you broken down? Well, I'm at a gas station, at a gas pump, filling it, so no, probably, no, I'm not. Oh, because a lot of times when people, or all the time, when I see people pop their hood, it's because they're broken down. Nope, I'm trying to do routine maintenance and inspections on my car. And he was kind of taken aback. appreciate the prompt check on his part. Thought someone was pulling in. But all the way back to everything is clearly laid out. This is the first car I've seen or owned that has the oil filter right up top. That's beautiful. I know right where it is. I know if it's loose, if it's fallen off. I can write the mileage on it and know when it needs to be replaced. I don't have to get up on my back and remove some kind of panel or something to get to it. It's right there. It's fantastic. So we have your oil filter there, your oil fill up there. Again, I keep my spare quart of oil inside the engine bay right here. It's away from the engine. It's out of the heat, so it's not like it's going to melt or anything. You have your air intake right here. You'll notice it's nice and high. A lot of cars will put their air intake, I've seen, down in front of the wheel well, which is weird. You'll see a lot of videos. There's a pretty famous YouTube channel, I can't remember the name, which defeats the point of it being famous, but it's some kind of fjord in England or something, but cars see the water going across the road and they're like, oh, well, I can make it. I got big car or fast car, and they'll go into the water comes over the hood line, gets sucked into the air intake, goes through their air filter, gets sucked into your pistons, and hydrolocks the engine. Turns out air is compressible, water less so. So when their cylinder tries to compress air 10 times smaller than it is to get combustion out of it, they blow the cylinder out the bottom of the engine or blow the head off the top of the engine. Either way, very expensive, and doesn't really get you the attention you were looking for. So this one's nice and high. It's essentially at my belt level. So you're looking at 3-foot clearance into water. Not something you would be willing to do, I would think. But if you're off-roading, that's something to consider. So you have your air intake going through your air filter. You have your mass airflow sensor here, nice and readily available. Should that fail, it's easy to get to. Gets sucked in, gets sent to 1, 2, 3, 4 of the cylinders, and then the exhausts will come out the other side. Again, the pistons are firing this way. So as they close, they're sucking air in. On their exhaust cycle, they're going to be blowing the air out, down. They go into a exhaust pipe and out the back. So very simple. Alternator is right here. Air conditioner compressor is right here. We went to Glacier National Park last summer, and on the way home we were driving at like 10 p.m. middle of Bumble nowhere, and the boy's DVD player went out. That's interesting. Well, I'm sure it just vibrated loose out of the connector, right? And the wife commented, man, the headlights are getting dim. All right, well, things are starting to shut off and get dim because we don't have electrical power, which tells me, and I look over, and sure enough, there's the red battery icon on the dashboard. That indicates that your charging system is not working. So we pulled over. I carry my everyday carry kit. You should too. And that kit is a voltmeter. I know how to use one. You should possibly consider it. A 12-volt battery is dead at 12 volts, as it turns out. 12.6 volts should be charged in your charging system, because your alternator is running with your belt, should be giving your 12-volt battery about 13.6 to 14 volts if you have a 12-volt car system. Can't speak for 24 volts. But I confirmed that the 12-volt battery was at 11.6 volts. It's not really what you want. So the following morning, long story short, got a $200 alternator from AutoZone with the tool bag that I carry with me, because everyday carry. This one was the Mary Poppins bag that you may have seen in the how to change your tire or replace your rear brakes videos. I had all the pieces, parts I needed, and I was able to replace the alternator in the parking lot, saving a $200-300 bill by going to a shop. And in that parking lot was the shop for semi trucks. And the guy comes over, he's like, "Hey man, I'm about to start my shift. Are there any tools that you need to borrow?" It's like, "Oh, I appreciate it. The alternator's in. I'm just taking a break before I put it back together." "You replaced an alternator?" "Mm-hmm." "In a parking lot?" "Mm-hmm." Yes, swear words were used. Not simple. Mine is right here. Hers is buried under the car. So I had to get on my back to get at those bolts and then stand up here to get at those and go back under to find out there was a third bolt that didn't have clearance because American engineering. This one is right there. Beautiful. All right, so this is the full wipe. Our water shows that my time was not wasted today. We're going to pour this out, flip it upside down, let that sun go to work just as it's doing. Oh, sorry. The cosmic solar flame ball sun, not baby boy. And I'm going to go ahead and let that work on the clothes as well as on that dirty rag. And we're going to put a little bit in the bucket after I've rinsed it. I'm now going to use the scrub brush to knock loose any remaining stuffs, and we'll follow up by drying it with the dry towel. So I can already see this guy's cleaner, that guy's cleaner. That could honestly use a little bit more work, but don't really want it to air dry with the soap on it. Another bonus tip. I replace my own brakes, and I have winter and summer rims with winter and summer tires. So I'm constantly going after the lug nuts on the car. Up here on the support for your shock, I wrote 90 foot-pounds. 90 foot-pounds is the torquage for the lug nuts on this car. So just as I have indicators there, I went ahead and wrote that on the car as well. Saves me a little bit of time with dirty hands trying to find the same website I used 6 months prior to get that information. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get our first dry rag. I would have a couple on here. Nice. Up here in Ohio, we are in the Rust Belt. We salt our roads because people refuse to learn how to drive their cars. So we do have salt, we do have corrosion. The more I can get that out of my engine bay, cheap insurance, ounce of prevention, pound of cure, and it looks quite a bit nicer. Also, as I've said in my videos on working on the rear brakes, wear indicators. So if you have an oil leak or a transmission fluid leak or a leak that you either know about or don't know about, you're going to continue not knowing about it or not having a full understanding of how prevalent it is if you let your engine bay get dirty and stay dirty. How are you going to know if the leak is active or not? How much it's leaking over what duration of time if you don't have a clear indication that it is leaking? So if I can get this engine bay clean and maintain it every 6 months or so, I can see that This hose is nice and spry. If it starts hardening up, I know 6 months ago it wasn't, there's something going on with that hose, right? Or there's some kind of greenish fluid somewhere in this area. Well, that's my coolant. Coolant's usually a yellowish green, kind of a Gatorade yellowish color. And if I have a perpetual leak that I do nothing about, then I can't really keep tabs on that. Plus, it gets me outside, which is something we haven't had in a while. Got some cabin fever going on. We had baby boy come along. He was in the NICU for about 70 days. He was born 3 months premature, 3.5 pounds. Very fortunate to still have him. Doing a very good job. We love baby boy. Ooh, what do we got? Not a Harley. Nice. Shortly thereafter, we had the global pandemic of unknown origin that shut down most of what we do. It's a good thing we don't suffer the consequences of doing such a thing like that. And then baby girl came along, and then working full time, and boo-hoo, wow. But this gives me a reason to be outside, get some vitamin D, experience what birds do, and clean the car up a little bit, get a better understanding of what it does and how it does it. All right, so that's about what we got. Luckily, since this is installed at the front of a vehicle designed to go quickly, the next time I take it for a drive, any residual fluids will be knocked loose, and I'm sure in the temperatures we'll be getting today, it'll be gone anyways. But that's what we got. So I gave you guys a bit of a tour with the before. That rhymed. That was fun. Let's see what the after looks like. So not rocket science, nothing you have to run out and buy supplies for. Basically have everything you need at home, I imagine. But anything that is a color, I mean, I didn't wax that, I didn't shine that, I washed it. Same thing with that. This guy's a lot nicer. This guy cleaned up real nice. So that's about what we got. So again, this is outside the target demographic. This is a video on cleaning your engine bay, why you should, how you should, and inane ramblings on Subarus. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and tell me so in the comments section below. I enjoy hearing from you guys. Any questions, comments, concerns you have, leave those in the comments section below as well. Again, outside the target demographic, I appreciate you guys spending some time with me, and I will catch you in the next video.